What's up, guys? I'm Laurel, and welcome to Laurel's Moon and this bitch. Join me as I read you your lives, baby. Thank you to everyone who's liked, shared, commented, subscribed to my channel. You already know I appreciate each and every single one of you motherfuckers. Yes, I do, baby. And if you need to get a personal reading from me, hit the description box down below. Check out my website, laurelsmoon.com, for any other magical purposes and deviation workings and things of that nature. So I wanted to have a quick little discussion. Spirit is always welcome into the reading, baby. But I wanted to talk about relationships and your exes. I've gotten a lot of inquiries about doing spell work on their ex-lovers. People definitely need to think about why you do the things that you do. And when you first meet a motherfucker, even if you think about the first time that you met someone, you'll see those levels of who is inspired, who is financially dependent, who is relying on you, your emotions, what people are attaching themselves to you for. I get that a lot of clients, there is somebody for everybody, okay? Now, you might go and experience certain things in your life with others that show you exactly who you are, where you're going, okay, and what you're going to be dealing with in the future. So I'm going to give you a list of tall tale signs of what you need to look out for when you first meet a motherfucker, okay? So you know that with every right, you have your intentions, you have your motives, just like everyone else. When you first meet someone, usually you have to understand how you're merging worlds together, what their purpose is, and why you all met each other. You have to think about where you're at in life. How much money are you making? How are you getting to where you need to be, okay, with or without this person? So here's some tips. When you first meet a motherfucker, you already know you're going to be profiling them. You'll be looking at them, the way that they dress, their mannerisms, what they said to you the first time that you met them, how the conversation or the interest sparked up. Usually you will know if that person is meant to be in your life in the very first words and conversation that you have, okay? Whether that's good or bad, you usually know when somebody is meant for you. Especially in the time could pass, people can change, okay? Just know that. But when you meet this person, you will know directly when the conversation that you guys first have together exactly where you guys are at, okay? So I want you to take some time to think about when you first met this person, the conversation that you all have. Most of the time, usually people want to, express themselves and show how creative they are, show how good they are to others. But you also have to think about who you are at that time when you create your world with that person. You need to think about the merging of those two worlds together. So when you first have a conversation, initially that person is going to want to impress you. You're going to want to impress them. You're going to be talking about things that are good more than they are the bad, okay? Because that's just what human beings fucking do. Is we like talking about the good things about ourselves versus the bad. You'll usually know in between the lines when that person has had some sort of struggle or where they've gotten to until now. Sometimes you shouldn't have to put your perception that deep into a person when you first meet them. But if you do, usually there are those signs that that person is on the level that you are on as well too, okay? So people need to initially remember the conversation that you have. If this person is talking about an old ex, if this person is talking about how they're moving forward, you're definitely going to see where the initial part of the conversation is where it's going to be leading you to long term with you and them, all right? So if I go on a date with somebody and this motherfucker sits down and starts talking about their ex, and starts talking about how they did this and how they did that, I'm going to be like, sweetie, you're not over that motherfucker. So I'm going to need you to take some time to go heal, okay? And then holler at me next lifetime. So those are tall tale. One of those are just one. That's just one prime example of a tall tale sign of somebody who's not ready for a relationship. Okay, if you still see that motherfucker's band missing on their hand and they still have the outline, they're still healing from that marriage. Okay, if you're dealing with somebody that you feel is single and they always are clinging on to somebody or an old ex, or people are, you know, people hold on to the shit from the past. I get that, you know, you can see those tall tale signs too. So for example, you first sit down, you go on a date, you meet someone. First of all, the date initially has to be at a place where both of you guys can meet together and be on the same one accord, okay? So taking somebody out to a fucking coffee date or some shit like that, you're going to get some quick little minutes of shit because the coffee's gonna run out, okay? And you can buy your own goddamn coffee. You can talk to anybody freely, but you want to know those tall tale signs when you're first meeting someone, whether or not they're invested in wanting to have friendships, have relationships. You can tell by their conversation. You can tell where things shift and where things change. So first of all, if you go on a coffee date, you know that the conversation should be very basic, very simple. But most people don't really listen to the conversation that's being said as you're sitting down and talking to each other. You're just trying to find interest between each other. But really, you have to start picking up on those lines, the in-betweens, what this person does for a living, how they got to where they are until now. You really have to think about these specific details because things like that do matter later on down the line. You might feel judgmental. Because everybody judges, okay? We naturally have that as human fucking beings. Don't let anybody tell you you're not supposed to judge, all right? But you initially have that first feeling of you all wanting to share the conversation and you all wanting to share each other's stories, but you really have to think about, okay, what are they missing? Okay, what is missing in this story that will probably happen in their patterns later on down the line? You need to think about things like that. How they speak about others, how they talk to others, how they speak about their mother, their father, their children, okay, certain situations, the respect and the accountability. You can read in between that when it comes down to conversations with others. So it doesn't necessarily have to be relationships or dating, but it could be with just anyone. You can read and see through those tall tale signs of what a motherfucker has been through when you speak to them, when you sit down and talk to them, how their mannerisms are. You can see the levels and be able to determine if this person is on the same accord as you. I know when I first started dating in my 20s, okay, there were so many men that were gravitating towards me. They wanted to have sex. They wanted to go out on dates. I was interested in the dating scene, but based off of my background, me being in a strictly religious background, I kind of thought that the man should do this, the man should do that, the woman should do this, the woman should do that, whatever the case may be. I was raised in a way that was not the norm or the standard for most Americans or for most people that grow up in organized religions. So I thought that certain things were a certain way. Now, when I started dating, once I got to college, I'm like, okay, so this guy, he seems pretty decent, I'm doing my thing, but what do I really want? I was at that age where I just did not know what I wanted. I still needed to go through a lot of life lessons, and I knew that about myself. But I also knew that I was trying to figure out whose patterns would I want to deal with for the rest of my life. And I was shifting through a lot of people, just personalities, dating them, their mannerisms, their characteristics, how their parents raised them, understanding who their parents are. I came to the conclusion, not everyone is bad and not everyone is good. But there are some people that are raised in different households. You have to have an understanding that because they're not raised in that same standard or form that you were raised in, you have to understand what what works. And being that I was looking for somebody that was religious in the same parallel that I was in, it was very hard for me to come to an understanding as far as the masculine and feminine roles based off of how I grew up and based off of what they encountered in their life and what they experienced as well. I was in the dating scene for a very long time, and I met a lot of people that I knew instantly on the dates, or just meeting them, you were not for me and you're wasting my time. Even just the conversation alone. I used to try the dating apps, and it would be so ridiculous because I would meet people, I'm like, oh, okay, this person looks good. Okay, you can go off of looks, but that shit only lasts for so long. But then when you start talking to them and you're like, oh, you have 7 children. Okay, well, I'm starting to see there's some issues here. Why are you on a dating website when you have 7 children? Or if you just got out of prison, why are you looking for someone? You should be working on yourself. I started to see these things in people just talking to them, not even dating them, just talking to them. So certain things like that, if you pick up on those context clues, you will know if that motherfucker is meant for you, okay, at that time, later on down the line, okay, or if you cross paths to understand why they weren't meant for you. You have to come to those realizations when it comes down to people and their mannerisms, their characteristics, them wasting your fucking time. You have to really think about that shit. So I get a lot of people that come to me for spell work to try to get ex-lovers to come back. I'm like, why the fuck do you want this motherfucker back? You already know when you think about somebody, the reason why you left them alone, even if you forgot, usually once you meet up with them again, you understand why you was not fucking with their vibe, or why those wavelengths and patterns were not crossing together. Okay, you usually will be able to tell. So I have to tell people this: you need to think about why you truly, deeply want the things that you want. Is it because of your own personal issues? Okay, is it because everyone wants to feel loved, but is it because there are things and components that are missing that you need to fill in for yourself first before you actually try to merge worlds with someone? Now, not everyone is fucking perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the fucking Virgin Mary, okay? I haven't been a virgin in a long time. But I'm just saying that nobody's perfect, but when you think about it, think about the time that you are spending on this earth. Who's wasting your time? Are you wasting your time? Are you watching those telltale signs of who is invested and who's not? Are you invested? So you have to ask yourself those questions. You have to really think about those beginning conversations and how you're going to let motherfuckers slide, or if you want to give them your heart, all right? So think about that shit. If you guys need to get a personal reading from me, hit the description box down below. Check out my website, laurelsmoon.com. I am going to be doing my 4 questions for $25 for the weekend. Stay tuned for that. I will have the weekend posted. I love you guys for just listening to the information, because I feel I be writing notes, taking notes, writing shit down, because I study and analyze the things that you all say and the things that happen in the signs. And I feel like sometimes it's definitely an understanding that you need to come to when you meet these people, if it's going to work out, what patterns that you guys both have together that you need to work on, or if this is a life lesson that you're going to have to go through to understand what love truly is to you. Okay, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.